Hi, I'm Jennifer, and this is my assistant Emily. Say hello.
Hi.
And today we're going to be showing a video on sewing the Rachel Brief. Hold it up. It is a high-waisted underwear, and these are a couple samples that we have made. So it has an insert of a contrast fabric, and this is the more decorative lace-up style we did. So in the set of videos, you'll actually see some videos specific for this lace-up styling. If you are not doing this, you can actually just skip that video. All of these are available as kits on our website as well.
I put it there. Next time, say hold it up for soon.
So we're going to make this brown and blue lace panty, which is part of it's one of my new pieces that's a kit. So we have the back. We're going to start with the front by sewing the insert in here. So make sure I've got it. It's wider at the bottom. It's angled. So if you kind of look, you might be able to see that this is how it's going to be when it's finished. Now I'm going to have a lacing detail, but I'm going to do that right before I put the elastic on. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put the right sides together. Should be really nice. And I use that pin, but the pin is missing. So I'm just going to put a few pins just to hold it in place because the stretchy stuff kind of moves all over the place. Hopefully it won't get too loud with the motor on. We'll see. I might have to do a voiceover. Okay. So the seam allowance on this is 3/8 of an inch. So before I get started, I like to slide this in and make sure the blade's up. It's possible that your machine, I think the home machines, I don't know if they go up that high, if you can visibly see it. What you want to do is you start it with the blade up, so that way it doesn't kind of push the fabric forward. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it started. So I'm cutting off 1/8 of an inch, making sure, and actually I forgot to pull the thread all the way through. So this is black thread, and I may end up with brown thread before it gets to the end of the last two. And let's see if I pull it through. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, there we go. There's stitch number 1. Okay, and I'm going to pause and I'm going to go fix the thread. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the lining part. Now this fabric, it's kind of hard to see a right and a left side. The side that's raised is actually the back side, because you can see there's actually these little threads that are hanging off, and you don't want that visible on the outside. So we're going to do it so it's right sides facing each other. So this is the right side. If you look the other side, the smoother side is shinier too. So here I'm going to overlap this so it's equal on both sides, and basically we're sewing at 3/8 of an inch, which is right here. Now if you've actually cut this out correctly, it should overlap right at that 3/8. So when you cut off 1/8 of an inch to sew it, it should be done correctly. So I'm going to come back over here, get my blade up to help out, and then I'm just going to get started. Now see it's kind of starting to move, so I'm just going to pull it back out. I'm not really happy with that, so let me. Okay. So sometimes I'll use this pin as a guide. Now make sure you aren't pulling your fabric, because it should not be stretching. And if you look, if you've got it correct, it should line up perfectly at those seams. So you can do this 2 ways. You could actually attach this, and I believe the directions I put with the download is actually to do it like this. So I'm going to do it how the directions are. Now you can switch this up. You can do it in a slightly different steps. So again, I'm making sure my right sides are facing each other. So I'm looking at the wrong side right now. I said I always just kind of put 2 pins to hold it in place. I can't really work without pins if I plan on not messing up. So that's up. And this one, I'm actually going to take a pin and kind of force it in there. Okay. And it looks like those edges are not lining up. There you go. So hopefully, like I said, this is my first time sewing with the GoPro. I'm kind of liking it. It was really hard to hold the basically sit so the camera was not in the way. Okay, so this is what you have so far. We need to do the lining. So we're going to look at now the wrong side. And we have our lining. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the front first. So we'll just line this up. And this should look just like the directions that are in the download. But, you know, if you're anything like me, you don't like to always read directions. So now we've already cut off that little bit. So what I want to do is I just want to make sure that this, get my thread out so it doesn't get all tangled. Really. Okay. So this, the crotch lining is actually going to overlap over here by about 1/8 of an inch. So I'll show you. So it's overlapped. That might be heavy on the 1/8, but I don't think I cut perfectly anyways. So we're gonna cut off that 1/8 of an inch on here. And this, kind of the same way. I'm just looking at the top because I already know the bottom's correct. Make sure that's good. Everything's looking good. Now, I didn't get really close over here, so I might want to just go back. I'm going to flip it over so I can actually make sure that everything looks great. So I'm basically just going to trim off that blue. And you may end up having some little pieces of thread that'll come off in the wash, but that's okay. So now, we've clean finished this side. We need to clean finish this side. But in order to do that, we're going to kind of pull and roll all this part so this is exposed. And then we're grabbing over here. Now I'll show you kind of what it did. Oops, no, I did it the other way. Right here. So when you're looking at this, you're going to have a crotch lining on this piece and the crotch piece on this side. So maybe because I didn't sew that correctly the first time, I'm just going to pin it. I'll sew on this side. So I'll sew with the blue side up so I don't have to do that twice. I'm not the blue side, the lace side. Sometimes my mouth runs faster than my brain. So I say the wrong words. So yes, you will catch me saying the wrong words at times. So now when I'm doing this, I'm going to try not to cut this stitch. And I know I am because I'm seeing little pieces of thread flying. But the more you actually cut off, the more fraying, or the more little pieces of thread that'll come out in the wash. Okay. So now we have this, right? So it looks like the crotch is on there. Now we just pull it right side out. Perfect, right? All done. Okay. Now you have a couple options at this point. Because I'm going to be doing this, I kind of like the way that the elastic is finished when it's sewn all the way around, as opposed to you could just go and sew the elastic across the top, and then sew those together, and then you have to top stitch it. The only issue is that you might have a little flap that can kind of be a little irritating. So I'm not going to do that on this one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and finish sewing this together. So I'm going to sew this seam, Now if you notice, my back is a lot wider than my front, and that's because this design wraps around to the front. So, pin. Looks like my lace might have been cut big. There you go. Again, we're cutting that 1/8 inch off. And sometimes I'll use the pin to kind of help line them up, keep them positioned together. Then these pieces. And I really like to say that you're never going to be too good to sew without pins, because I've been sewing for probably 35 years, and I still need pins. Because the better you get, the more cocky you get, and the more mistakes you can make. So, I know I am full of flaws. So, I'll try this. Okay. It's like I didn't cut this very straight, so I'm gonna So now everything's attached. Now, if you're working with one of the other kits, you'd basically take it from this point and just go ahead and add your elastic on it. This is a high-waisted. It's actually really cute. I actually did it in a bathing. Oh, did I sew? No, I didn't. Okay. I made one of these for myself in bathing suit fabric, so I actually have a bathing suit like this. Of course, not lace. Okay. I will be right back to set up for this.